Asterisk, asterisk, my neighbor called cops on my dog. Too bad. I'm the animal control director. Asterisk, asterisk, Sarah's phone buzzes at 6 a.m. with an angry complaint about her rescued German Shepherd terrorizing the neighborhood. The caller demands immediate action and threatens to escalate to city officials if nothing's done. What the furious neighbor doesn't know is that Sarah isn't just any dog owner. She's the county's animal control director with 20 years of experience. And the dog they're complaining about. He's a retired canine officer who earned 3 commendations for community service. This Karen just picked the wrong fight with the wrong person. Sarah Martinez has dedicated her entire adult life to protecting animals and keeping communities safe. For 20 years, she's been Jefferson County's animal control director, handling everything from dangerous dog investigations to animal cruelty cases. Her reputation in law enforcement circles is spotless. Officers know that when Sarah Martinez shows up, problems get solved professionally and permanently. The shrill ring of Sarah's phone cuts through the peaceful dawn silence of her Oak Street home. She reaches across the knit stand, squinting at the caller ID. Jefferson County Dispatch. Not unusual. Emergency animal calls came at all hours. But as she answers, the voice on the other end isn't her usual dispatcher, Jefferson County Animal Control. This is Linda Patterson at 1245 Oak Street, and I am done with my neighbor's vicious dog. This is the 3rd time I'm calling this week. Sarah sits up straighter, instantly alert. She knows every address in her jurisdiction, and she definitely knows her own street. More importantly, she knows this is the first call logged about any dog on Oak Street in months. Ma'am, I'm showing this as your first call to our department. Could you please describe the specific incident you're reporting? Linda's voice rises to a near shriek. Don't you dare tell me this is my first call. I know what I've done. That monster next door at 1247 has been terrorizing this entire neighborhood since the day it arrived. Just this morning at 5:30 a.m., it had the absolute audacity to be standing in its own yard, looking at my precious princess through the fence. Sarah glances at her bedside clock. 6:15 a.m. She looks over at Max, her 8-year-old German Shepherd, who's still peacefully curled up in his orthopedic memory foam bed. His graying muzzle twitches slightly as he dreams, probably chasing rabbits or remembering his police work days. The morning sun streams through the window, highlighting his retired K9 vest hanging proudly on the wall, complete with 3 service commendation medals. I understand your concerns. Mrs. Patterson, can you describe the dog's behavior that you found threatening? It stared at my princess with those beady little eyes. German Shepherds are basically wolves, you know? I've done extensive research on the internet. They're bred for violence and aggression. This beast is easily 80 pounds of pure muscle and intimidation tactics. Sarah has to bite her lip to keep from laughing. Max weighs exactly 75 pounds. She knows because she takes him for regular vet checkups at the county facility. And those beady little eyes have helped locate 17 missing persons, including 3 children and an elderly man with dementia. Mom, I'll need to document this properly for our investigation. What specific aggressive actions has the dog taken? Well, it exists in a residential neighborhood. And yesterday, while I was trying to enjoy my morning coffee on my patio, it had the nerve to be in its yard at the same time. The psychological trauma Princess has endured is immeasurable. Sarah begins taking notes, not for an official report, but because this conversation is too surreal not to document. Has the dog ever left its yard? Has it barked excessively? Has it shown teeth, growled, or made any threatening gestures toward you or Princess? There's a pause. Well, no, but that's not the point. It doesn't have to do those things to be dangerous. Its very presence is a threat to community safety. I demand immediate action. Mrs. Patterson, I assure you that animal control takes all complaints seriously. I'll have our director personally investigate this matter today. Good? And let me tell you something. If this isn't resolved immediately, I'm calling the mayor, the city council, Channel 7 News, and my lawyer. I know people in this town. My husband is a successful businessman, and we pay substantial property taxes. I will not be ignored. After hanging up, Sarah sits in bed for a moment, processing the absurdity of the situation. In 20 years of animal control work, she's handled aggressive dogs, exotic animal escapes, hoarding situations, and animal cruelty cases that would give most people nightmares. She's been bitten, scratched, and even charged by an angry bull that escaped from a local farm. But never in her entire career has she been reported to herself. Max stirs in his bed, stretching and yawning before padding over to Sarah for his morning head scratches. His tail wags gently as she pets him, and his dark eyes, the same ones Linda called beady, look up at her with the intelligent, gentle expression that made him perfect for community outreach programs during his police career. Well, Max, she says softly, looks like we're about to have an interesting day by 8:30 a.m. Sarah has showered, dressed in her official animal control director uniform, and prepared her investigation materials. Her badge reads S. Martinez, Director in bold letters, and her truck bears the official Jefferson County Animal Control insignia that's become familiar to residents throughout the county. She's handled thousands of dog complaints over the years, and she follows the same professional protocol for this one, even though it's about her own dog. Sarah believes in leading by example, and that means treating every complaint with the same thoroughness and respect. Regardless of how ridiculous it might seem, her first stop is the Jefferson County Animal Control Office, where she reviews Max's official records. As a retired police dog, his documentation is more extensive than most pets. Behavioral assessment, exceptional temperament, demonstrates superior bite inhibition, excellent social skills with children and elderly populations. No aggression incidents in 6 years of active duty. Retirement reason. Mild hip dysplasia, age-related slowing. Cleared for family pet life with regular veterinary monitoring. Sarah makes copies of Max's records, standard procedure for any dog complaint investigation. She also pulls up the neighborhood incident reports for Oak Street over the past year. The results are telling: 0 animal-related complaints, 2 noise ordinance violations both from loud parties, not dogs, and 1 report of teenagers skateboarding on private property. Her phone rings as she's finishing the paperwork. It's Officer Mike Chen from the K-9 unit. Hey Sarah, I heard through the grapevine that someone filed a complaint about Max. Please tell me that's not true. Oh, it's true, all right. Apparently, he's been terrorizing the neighborhood with his threatening presence. Mike laughs so hard Sarah has to hold the phone away from her ear. Max terrorizing. The dog who once sat patiently for 3 hours with a lost toddler until we found the parents. The same Max who falls asleep during thunderstorms and is afraid of the vacuum cleaner. The very same. The complainant seems to think he's a dangerous wolf masquerading as a family pet. This I have to see. Mind if I swing by during your investigation? I'm off duty this afternoon. Actually, that would be perfect. Having his former handler there might help demonstrate his actual temperament. Sarah spends another hour reviewing county ordinances related to dog complaints, preparing her investigation kit, and mentally rehearsing how to handle this situation professionally. The irony isn't lost on her. She's about to conduct an official animal control investigation on herself. At 11 a.m. sharp, Sarah pulls up to her own house in the official animal control vehicle. She's changed into her full uniform, complete with badge, radio, and the clipboard that's become her trademark in the community. Neighbors often joke that when they see Sarah Martinez with her clipboard, problems are about to get solved. Linda Patterson is already waiting on her front porch, dressed in designer athleisure wear and holding Princess, her tiny white Maltese. The dog can't weigh more than 5 pounds and is currently shaking like a leaf, though whether from fear, excitement, or just natural Maltese energy is unclear. You certainly took your time getting here. Linda calls out before Sarah even exits the vehicle. I called first thing this morning. Good morning, Mrs. Patterson. I'm Sarah Martinez from Jefferson County Animal Control. Sarah approaches with her clipboard ready, maintaining the professional demeanor she's perfected over 2 decades. I understand you have concerns about your neighbor's dog. Linda barely glances at the badge or name tag to focus on her complaints to process the information. Yes, that beast has been nothing but trouble since they moved in 6 months ago. It's completely inappropriate for this neighborhood. Sarah makes careful notes, just as she would for any other complaint. I see. Can you describe the specific incidents that concern you? Well, yesterday morning I was trying to enjoy my coffee on my patio, which I have every right to do in my own backyard, and that monster was just standing there in its yard, staring at us through the fence. Princess was absolutely traumatized. Did the dog bark, growl, or make any threatening gestures? It didn't need to. The intimidation was completely obvious. German Shepherds are working dogs. They're not meant to be pets. I've done extensive research online. They have the strongest bite force of any domestic dog breed. Sarah knows this isn't true. Several breeds have stronger bite forces than German Shepherds, but she continues taking notes. Has the dog ever approached the fence line when Princess is outside? Well, no, but has it ever barked excessively or at inappropriate hours? Linda hesitates. I mean, it might have barked once or twice, but that's not the point. Has it ever shown aggressive posturing, raised hackles, bared teeth, lunging movements? No, but you're missing the bigger picture here. This is about community safety and property values. Dogs like that don't belong in family neighborhoods. What if it gets loose? What if it attacks a child? Sarah nods thoughtfully, continuing to write. In her experience, complaints like this usually stem from fear based on breed stereotypes rather than actual problematic behavior. She's seen it hundreds of times, people who've had negative experiences or misconceptions about certain breeds projecting those fears onto well-behaved dogs. Mrs. Patterson, I appreciate your thoroughness in reporting your concerns. Part of my investigation process involves observing the dog in question. Would you mind if I examine the property line and observe the animal's behavior? Of course. That's what I've been asking for. You'll see exactly what I mean about this menace. Sarah walks to the fence separating the 2 properties, with Linda following closely behind, still clutching Princess and providing running commentary. You see how high that fence is? 6 feet. They obviously know they have a dangerous animal and are trying to contain it. And look at the size of that doghouse. It's practically a shed. The fence is indeed 6 feet tall, but Sarah installed it herself when she moved in, not to contain a dangerous dog, but because she believes in being a responsible pet owner. The shed-sized doghouse was actually a gift from the canine unit when Max retired, custom built by Officer Chen's father, who owns a carpentry business. As they approach the fence, Sarah can see Max in the backyard. He's lying in his favorite sunny spot, chewing on a Kong toy stuffed with peanut butter. When he hears footsteps, his ears perk up and his tail begins wagging. He recognizes Sarah's voice, even though she's speaking in her official capacity. There, do you see how it's staring at us? Linda whispers dramatically, as if Max might overhear and take offense. Sarah observes Max's body language with her trained eye. His posture is completely relaxed, tail wagging in a slow, happy rhythm, ears forward but not rigid, mouth slightly open in what behaviorists call a happy pant. When he notices Princess, he actually lowers himself into a play bow. The universal dog signal for I'm friendly and want to interact positively. Mom, I need to document the dog's current behavior. What I'm observing is a relaxed animal displaying friendly body language. The tail wagging, lowered front end, and soft facial expression all indicate a non-threatening demeanor, but look how big it is. And those eyes. They're calculating, planning something. Sarah has to bite her tongue. Those calculating eyes belong to a dog who scored on the top 5% for intelligence testing in the K9 program and who used that intelligence to help people for 6 years. Max notices the commotion and approaches the fence, but stops about 3 feet away, exactly as he was trained to do to avoid intimidating people. His tail continues wagging as he sits and tilts his head, a gesture that's melted the hearts of countless children during school safety demonstrations. Princess, meanwhile, has stopped shaking and is showing interest in Max. Her tiny tail is wagging tentatively, and she's stretching her neck forward to get a better look. Interesting, Sarah notes aloud. Princess appears to be showing friendly curiosity rather than fear. She's just confused. She doesn't understand the danger. At that moment, Officer Chen's patrol car pulls up across the street. He's off duty but still in uniform, and he waves when he sees Sarah. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Max. He calls out cheerfully. Max's response is immediate and telling. His entire body language brightens. His tail wags harder, and he gives one sharp, happy bark of recognition, the same bark he used to give when he saw his handler after a successful search. Linda's face goes pale as she watches the interaction between the police officer and the dangerous dog. Officer Chen approaches the group with a big smile. Sorry I'm a little late. How's the investigation going? Linda looks confused. Investigation? Who are you? Officer Mike Chen, Jefferson County Sheriff's Department. I'm Max's former partner. Linda's voice is barely a whisper. Sarah maintains her professional demeanor. Officer Chen, as part of my investigation into complaints about this animal, would you be willing to provide testimony regarding the dog's behavioral history? Absolutely. Mike pulls out his own notepad, playing along with the formal investigation. Max Rodriguez Martinez served as my canine partner for 6 years. In that time, he participated in over 200 operations, including narcotics detection, search and rescue, and community outreach programs. Linda sits down heavily on her porch steps, still holding Princess, who is now actively wagging her tail and trying to get closer to the fence. Could you describe his temperament and training? Sarah continues. Max has exceptional bite inhibition training. Even during suspect apprehensions, he never used more force than necessary. His specialty was actually de-escalation. We used him primarily for community events because of his gentle nature with children and elderly residents. Has he ever had any aggressive incidents or behavioral complaints? Never, not once in 6 years. In fact, he's been specifically trained to assess threatening situations and respond appropriately. If Max seems calm around someone, it's because his training has determined there's no threat present. Linda finally finds her voice. Training? What kind of training? Mike turns to her with a friendly smile. Police K9 training is incredibly extensive. Max spent 18 months learning to differentiate between actual threats and normal human behavior. He's been socialized with thousands of people, including children, elderly individuals, and people with disabilities. He's probably better trained than most humans when it comes to reading social situations. But he's so big, and he looks so intimidating. Ma'am, Mike says gently, Max weighs 75 pounds. That's actually on the smaller side for German Shepherds. His intimidating look is just his breed characteristics. It's like saying someone looks dangerous because they're tall. Sarah checks her watch. Officer Chen, would you be willing to demonstrate Max's training and temperament for Mrs. Patterson? I think it might help alleviate her concerns. Absolutely. Max, come here. Buddy, Max approaches the fence, tail wagging, but automatically sits about 2 feet away, perfect positioning that allows interaction while maintaining a respectful distance. His training is evident in every movement. The first thing you'll notice, Mike explains to Linda, is that Max automatically maintains distance. He was trained never to approach the fence line directly. To avoid making people feel crowded or threatened, Mike gives a series of hand signals, and Max responds immediately. Sit, stay, down. Each command is executed perfectly, with Max's attention focused entirely on his former partner. Now watch this, Mike says. He drops his voice to barely above a whisper and gives the command for gentle. Max immediately lowers his entire body to the ground, making himself as small and non-threatening as possible. This is the position he uses around small children or nervous adults. He makes himself appear smaller and less intimidating. Linda watches in fascination as Princess, emboldened by Max's submissive posture, actually approaches the fence. The tiny Maltese sniffs through the chain link while Max remains perfectly still. Princess seems interested in making friends. Sarah observes, that's because Max is trained to read other dogs' body language too. Mike explains. He can tell that Princess is curious rather than afraid, so he's responding appropriately. Mike continues the demonstration. Max's demeanor changes slightly, more focused, more purposeful, as he begins methodically checking the yard for any items that don't belong. It's the same behavior he used during drug searches, but now he's just making sure his territory is secure. Find the toy, Mike commands. Asterisk. Max immediately trots to his Kong toy, picks it up gently, and brings it back to the fence, dropping it about a foot away from where Princess is standing. It's a clear offering, an invitation to play. Linda stares in amazement. He's trying to share his toy with Princess. That's exactly what he's doing, Sarah confirms. It's prosocial behavior, the opposite of aggression. Sarah opens her official folder and pulls out Max's documentation. Mrs. Patterson, as part of my investigation, I've reviewed this dog's complete history. I think you should see his credentials. She hands Linda a copy of Max's service record, complete with photos from various community events. There's Max sitting patiently while kindergartners pet him during a school safety presentation. Another photo shows him wearing a therapy dog vest, visiting elderly residents at Sunset Manor Nursing Home. A third picture captures him sitting calmly next to a crying child he'd helped locate during a search and rescue operation. These are his commendation letters, Sarah continues, handing over official documents from the sheriff's department. This first one is for his work in the schools. He visited over 30 elementary schools, interacting safely with more than 3,000 children. Linda reads quietly, her expression changing from suspicion to surprise to something approaching embarrassment. This second commendation is for locating Emma Chen, a 6-year-old girl who wandered away from her family during a county fair. Max found her sleeping under a food truck after a 12-hour search. He stayed with her for 3 hours until her parents arrived, never leaving her side. And this third one, that's for his therapy work during COVID-19. When nursing homes couldn't allow family visits, Max was one of the few animals certified to continue visiting residents. He provided comfort to dozens of elderly people who were isolated from their families. Mike adds, Max has been background checked more thoroughly than most government employees. His veterinary records, behavioral assessments, and training certifications are all public record through the sheriff's department. Linda looks up from the papers, her face flushed. I had no idea. The internet articles I read made German Shepherds sound so dangerous. The internet can be misleading, Sarah says diplomatically. Breed-specific information often focuses on worst-case scenarios rather than typical behavior. It's like judging all humans based on the actions of a few bad actors. Mrs. Patterson, Mike adds gently, I've worked with dozens of dogs over my career. Max is literally one of the gentlest, most well-trained animals I've ever encountered. You and Princess are actually safer having him as a neighbor. Sarah sits down on Linda's porch steps, shifting from her official investigation mode to her role as a community educator, something she's done thousands of times over her career. Mrs. Patterson, I want to address your concerns about German Shepherds in general, because I think that's really what this is about. Linda nods reluctantly, still holding Princess, who is now clearly more interested in getting closer to Max than hiding from him. German Shepherds were originally bred as herding dogs, not attack dogs. The traits that make them good police dogs: intelligence, loyalty, trainability, also make them excellent family pets when properly socialized. Sarah pulls out her phone and shows Linda photos from various community events where Max has participated. Here he is at the annual Pets in the Park Festival, surrounded by dozens of children. Here's a video from last year's charity dog wash, where he patiently stood still while kids scrub at him with soapy sponges. The intense stare you mentioned isn't aggression, it's intelligence. Max is constantly assessing his environment because that's what he was trained to do. He's not plotting anything sinister. He's making sure everyone around him is safe. Mike chimes in. When Max looks at Princess through the fence, he's actually gathering information. Is she happy? Scared? Playful? Does she need help? His training taught him to read other animals and humans to determine the appropriate response. Linda watches as Max, still lying down near the fence, yawns and stretches before rolling onto his side in the sunny grass. It's possibly the least threatening pose any animal could assume, but what if he gets loose? What if something sets him off? Sarah had been waiting for this question. That's actually a great question, and I'm glad you asked. Max's training includes extensive scenarios for exactly those situations. She calls softly to Max, who immediately perks up. Max, come. He approaches the fence and sits, waiting for further instruction. Emergency down. Sarah commands in a firm but calm voice. Max immediately drops to the ground and freezes in place. Position designed to prevent any movement that could be interpreted as threatening. That command works, regardless of what's happening around him. Loud noises, other animals, even children running and screaming. When Max hears emergency down, he becomes a statue until given the all clear. What about if he's scared or startled? Mike answers this one. Max's training specifically addressed fear responses. Instead of fight or flight, he's been conditioned to seek his handler, now Sarah, for guidance. If something frightens him, his instinct is to return to his person, not to lash out. Sarah continues, and regarding getting loose, Max is microchipped, registered with the county, and wears a GPS collar during his walks. But even if he did get out, his training is to stay in his own territory and wait for help. He's not going to go roaming the neighborhood looking for trouble. Princess has been getting increasingly restless during the conversation, clearly wanting to investigate this interesting new neighbor. Linda finally sets her down, keeping a firm grip on her leash. Would it be safe for Princess to meet Max properly? Linda asks hesitantly. Sarah and Mike exchange glances. This is the moment they've been building toward. Mrs. Patterson, Sarah says carefully, I think a proper introduction would be beneficial for both dogs. But first, I need to tell you something important. Linda looks up from where she's watching Princess strain toward the fence. I am your neighbor. I live at 1247 Oak Street. Max is my dog. The words hang in the air for a moment as Linda processes this information. Her face goes through a series of expressions: confusion, realization, embarrassment, and finally something that might be relief. You live next door. I've lived there for 6 months, since I adopted Max after his retirement. You called animal control to complain about the animal control director's dog. Linda sits down heavily on her porch steps. Oh my God, I called you to complain about you to yourself. Essentially, yes. But Mrs. Patterson, I want you to know that I took your complaint seriously. Every concern you raised has been investigated according to standard protocol. The fact that it turned out to be about my own dog doesn't change the thoroughness of the investigation. Mike grins. In Sarah's 20 years as animal control director, this might be the first time she's had to officially investigate herself. Linda covers her face with her hands. I am so embarrassed. I must look like such an idiot. Not at all, Sarah says kindly. You saw something that concerned you, and you reported it through proper channels. That's exactly what responsible community members should do. The only issue was that your concerns were based on misconceptions rather than actual problematic behavior. With Linda's permission, Sarah opens the gate between the 2 yards, a gate that's been there since she moved in. Though Linda apparently never noticed it, the previous owners installed this gate so their kids could play in both yards. Sarah explains, I've been meaning to introduce myself and Max to all the neighbors, but work has been incredibly busy lately. Max approaches slowly, still in his gentle posture, while Princess practically vibrates with excitement on her leash. Princess, sit, Linda commands, and surprisingly, the little dog obeys. Good girl, Mike says approvingly. She's got some training too. Max stops about 3 feet away and lies down, making himself as non-threatening as possible. Princess immediately approaches, tail wagging furiously to conduct the traditional dog greeting ritual of mutual sniffing. The introduction goes perfectly. Princess, despite being roughly 1/15 of Max's size, shows no fear. Max, for his part, remains perfectly still while the tiny dog investigates him thoroughly. He's so patient, Linda marvels. Part of his training, Sarah explains. He's been investigated by hundreds of small dogs over the years. He knows the protocol. After a few minutes, Princess actually starts playboying at Max, inviting him to interact. Max responds by gently lowering his head toward her, close enough to be social, but not so close as to overwhelm her. They like each other, Linda says. Sounding surprised, dogs are usually pretty good judges of character, Mike observes. Princess can tell that Max is friendly. Within 10 minutes, Princess is confidently walking around Max's legs while he remains lying down. When she gets tired, she actually curls up next to his front paws for a rest. Well, Linda says, watching the unlikely pair, I guess I was wrong about everything. Linda looks genuinely remorseful as she watches Princess sleeping peacefully next to Max. Sarah, I owe you a massive apology. I made assumptions based on fear and ignorance, and I wasted your time with a complaint that was completely unfounded. Mrs. Patterson, you don't need to apologize for being concerned about community safety. That's actually something I appreciate in neighbors. The issue wasn't that you were concerned, it was that the information you based your concerns on wasn't accurate. Sarah sits down in the grass next to the 2 dogs, and Linda joins her. For the first time since the morning phone call, they're just 2 neighbors talking. Not animal control director and complainant. I have to ask. Linda says, why didn't you just tell me who you were when I called this morning? Sarah considers this. Honestly, I wanted to see how the complaint would be handled if I weren't the director. It's important for me to know that our processes work fairly for everyone. Plus, I thought it might be educational for both of us. What do you mean? Well, you learned that your assumptions about German Shepherds weren't accurate. But I learned something too, that I need to do a better job introducing myself to new neighbors and helping them understand what to expect from Max. Mike adds, Sarah's always been big on community education. She gives presentations at schools, HOA meetings, anywhere people will listen, about responsible pet ownership and animal behavior. I should have come over with cookies and a proper introduction when I first moved in, Sarah admits. Instead, I was so busy with work that I just assumed everything would be fine. Linda shakes her head. No, this was my fault. I let fear override common sense. I made judgments based on breed stereotypes instead of observing actual behavior. Can I ask what specifically made you so afraid of German Shepherds? Linda is quiet for a moment. When I was a child, maybe 8 years old, I was chased by a large dog. I don't even remember what breed it was, but it was big and dark-colored, and it barked aggressively. I was terrified. Ever since then, large dogs have made me nervous. That makes complete sense, Sarah says sympathetically. Childhood trauma can create lasting fears, even when we logically know better as adults. The thing is, Princess has always been friendly with other dogs. It was my anxiety affecting her, not any real danger for Max. As if to prove Linda's point, Princess wakes up from her nap and stretches before playfully pouncing on Max's tail. Max responds by gently moving his tail back and forth, creating a game for the tiny dog. Over the next hour, Sarah, Linda, and Mike sit in the backyard watching the dogs play while sharing stories about their experiences with animals. Linda reveals that she's actually always loved dogs. She just let fear override that love when it came to larger breeds. Princess was my compromise with myself, Linda admits. I wanted a dog, but I chose the smallest, least intimidating breed I could find. Small dogs have their own wonderful qualities, Sarah says diplomatically, watching Princess attempt to engage Max in a game of tug-of-war with a stick that's nearly as long as she is, but now I'm realizing I might have been limiting myself. Unnecessarily, Mike tells stories about Max's community work, the time he helped calm a crowd during a severe thunderstorm at an outdoor festival, the way he instinctively knew which nursing home residents needed extra attention, his uncanny ability to locate lost items during search operations. He once found a wedding ring that had been lost in a park, Mike recalls. The bride was devastated. The whole wedding party was searching, and Max located it in about 10 minutes. It had rolled into a storm drain 20 feet from where she thought she'd dropped it. Sarah shares some of her experiences from animal control work, the educational aspect that she's most passionate about. Most animal problems stem from misunderstandings, she explains. People think their neighbor's dog is aggressive when it's actually just poorly socialized. Or they assume certain breeds are inherently dangerous when the real issue is lack of training. Like me assuming Max was dangerous because he's a German Shepherd. Exactly. Breed doesn't determine personality any more than profession determines personality in humans. There are gentle pit bulls and aggressive golden retrievers. It's all about individual temperament, training, and socialization. Linda nods thoughtfully. I feel so foolish for not realizing this sooner. Don't, Sarah says firmly. You're not the first person to make these assumptions, and you won't be the last. The important thing is that you're willing to learn and change your perspective based on new information as the afternoon winds down. Linda makes a decision that surprises everyone, including herself. Sarah, would you be willing to help me learn more about dog behavior? I mean, if Princess is going to be friends with Max, I should probably understand what I'm looking at when they interact. I'd be happy too. In fact, I do community education workshops once a month at the community center. The next one is about reading dog body language and understanding canine communication. I'll definitely attend. And maybe, would it be okay if Princess and I visited sometimes? They seem to really enjoy each other's company. Max and Princess have indeed become fast friends. Princess is currently attempting to groom Max's ears, while he patiently endures her ministrations with the long-suffering expression of a saint. I think Max would love that, Sarah says. He gets lonely during the day when I'm at work. Having a friend next door would be good for him. Mike checks his watch. I hate to break up this reunion, but I need to head home. Linda, it was really nice meeting you. Sarah, thanks for letting me be part of the official investigation. He kneels down to give Max a final pat. Take care of yourself, buddy, and keep an eye on your new friend Princess. Max's tail wags as he watches his former partner leave, but he doesn't try to follow, another sign of his excellent training and adjustment to civilian life. Over the following weeks, Linda and Princess become regular visitors to Sarah's backyard. Linda learns to read Max's body language and begins to understand the difference between alertness and aggression, between play behavior and threatening postures. Sarah, for her part, discovers that Linda is actually a thoughtful, intelligent person who is simply operating from a place of fear and misinformation. She becomes one of Sarah's most enthusiastic supporters of community education about animal behavior. Princess and Max develop an unlikely but genuine friendship. The tiny Maltese seems to believe she's Max's equal in size and courage, while Max treats her with the gentle patience he once showed to children during school visits. Linda starts attending Sarah's monthly workshops and eventually becomes a volunteer, sharing her story about how education and direct experience changed her perspective on large dogs. "I used to see Max as a threat," she tells workshop attendees. "Now I see him as Princess's best friend and one of the safest, most well-trained animals I've ever met. My fear was based on ignorance, and education replaced that fear with understanding." The story becomes something of a legend in the animal control community. Sarah uses it as a case study in her professional presentations about the importance of thorough investigation and community education. 6 months after the original complaint, Sarah receives a letter from Linda that she keeps framed in her office. "Dear Sarah, I wanted to formally thank you for the patience and professionalism you showed during my ridiculous complaint about Max. Your willingness to conduct a full investigation, despite knowing the complaint was unfounded, demonstrated the integrity that makes you such an effective animal control director. More importantly, your educational approach helped me overcome a lifelong fear that was limiting both Princess's and my own experiences. Max has become not just our neighbor, but our friend. Princess has never been happier, and I've learned that my assumptions about dog breeds were not only wrong, but potentially harmful. I'm now a certified volunteer with the county's animal education program, and I share our story regularly to help others overcome similar misconceptions. You didn't just solve a neighbor dispute, you helped create a stronger, more informed community. With gratitude and friendship, Linda Patterson. S. Max has officially been designated as Princess's honorary bodyguard. She follows him around the yard like he's her personal security detail. The story spreads throughout Jefferson County's law enforcement community, becoming a favorite example of how proper training, community education, and professional integrity can turn potential conflicts into positive outcomes. Officer Chen still visits regularly, often joking that Max's dangerous criminal record now includes aggravated friendship with a Maltese and assault with intent to share toys. Max, for his part, seems entirely unbothered by his brief fame as the most reported non-dangerous dog in county history. He continues his retirement activities, napping in sunny spots, playing with Princess, and occasionally demonstrating that even the most professional animals appreciate the simple pleasure of having good neighbors. **** Epilogue. The professional legacy ***1. Treating every complaint seriously ***. Regardless of how it might initially appear to the value of thorough investigation over quick judgments. 3. Community education as a tool for preventing future conflicts. 4. Professional integrity in handling situations where personal interests might be involved. 5. The power of direct experience to overcome fear-based assumptions. Incident also leads to the development of new community outreach programs, including Meet Your Neighbor's pet events and educational seminars about dog behavior and breed characteristics. Linda becomes one of the program's most effective ambassadors, often saying, "I learned that the most dangerous thing in my neighborhood wasn't my neighbor's dog. It was my own uninformed,